Hey guys, another full weekend of soccer action is here after we got a little bit of extra action in midweek EPL games. Now, last weekend's picks, they were great. We went 5-0 in these parlays. The midweek EPL picks went just 1-1, but with one of them being plus 142 odds, we're still up on those picks. That brings us to 27-9 on the season in these European Soccer League parlays. Let's hope that hot streak continues. Now, if you're liking these picks, please give the video the thumbs up and leave a comment down below or subscribe to the channel for more picks all year long. This video's first parlay for this weekend will go to the Premier League on Saturday, starting with Aston Villa and Arsenal. Clearly looks like one of the top games in Europe this weekend. This is a top three matchup here with Arsenal first with 36 points. They'll travel to Villa Park, where Villa are third, and they have 32 points. Now both are off midweek wins. Arsenal in a wild 4-3 road win over Luton on Tuesday. Villa in an incredibly impressive 1-0 clean sheet over Manchester City on Wednesday. Now City had their chances, but Villa was well deserving of those 3 points. The XG was 2.06 to 0.86 in Villa's favor. So were the shots, 22-2, and shots on target, 7-2. After City's 36 goals in the EPL, it's Villa tied with Liverpool for the next most goals at 34, and then Arsenal right behind with 33. This is also a battle of the best home team, Villa 7-0-0, scoring 24 and allowing just 5, and the best road team, Arsenal 5-1-1, scoring 13 and allowing 6. So not only are both teams scoring in the EPL here, but they both generally have been good defensively in these spots, being home or away. Shutting out Man City is also no easy feat, and Villa just did that. But Arsenal have also just allowed 3 goals to Luton on the road, so despite that decent defensive record, they just saw Luton score, so surely Aston Villa should probably get on the scoreboard as well. I'm betting Villa, though, they can't shut out both Man City and Arsenal in back-to-back games in the same week. For Villa, in 23 games in all competitions this season, in the EPL, League Cup, and Conference League, they've only failed to score twice, and both of those games came on the road. They'll be at home here, but you can say a very similar thing about Arsenal, as they've only failed to score in 1 of 24 games across all of their competitions. Now, when these teams met last season, it was 4-2 and 2-1 for Arsenal. So again, we saw goals last year. I think we'll see goals again this year. You can get both teams to score at -160, which maybe is good enough for a single bet, but not the best value. So let's try to just include 2 more very simple looking things to bring this to about even money. And I'm going to go to Brighton and Burnley. Let's try to get this to even money with Brighton just to score a goal. Brighton just won 2-1 at home to Brentford on Wednesday. That means both teams to score is 8-0 in Brighton games. Now with a run like that, you could certainly keep backing that trend and go both teams to score here if you just wanted to bet this game on its own, or just use this as another both teams to score parlay leg with Villa and Arsenal. But in all competitions, Burnley is just 1-0-8 in their past 9, and they have been shut out in 4 times in that stretch. So I'm not sure if you can trust Burnley right now to score. Brighton, they haven't failed to score a goal in their past 31 EPL games. All I'm asking for is Brighton to score 1 goal. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with Man U at home to Bournemouth. Man U is coming off a huge 2-1 home win over Chelsea on Wednesday. That brings them to 6th in the table now. And while they've been inconsistent, they're still 4-0-1 in their past 5, 6-0-2 in their past 8 in the EPL as well. At home in the Premier League, they're 23-3 in their past 26 games going back to last year, and they've scored in 20 of those 23. The Cherries are 15th. They're undefeated in 4. They just won 2-0 in Palace on Wednesday, so they are in good form too. But they are just 2-1-4 on the road, and they've been outscored 18-10. That Palace clean sheet was their only one in their past 10 competitions. All I'm going to ask for is 1 Man U goal. So Man U to score, Brighton to score, Villa and Arsenal both teams to score, and I got that at -103 odds. Now, parlay number 2, we're going to the Bundesliga, and it's spread out over Saturday and Sunday. It's Frankfurt against Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern's game got canceled because of snow last week, so they should be fresh in this game here. They have the Champions League versus Man U this week, but they've already guaranteed top spot in their group, so they can just focus their energy here mostly. Now, their last Bundesliga game was a 1-0 win over Cologne. That was the first time that they had a game that didn't see 2 or more goals this season. 11 of their 12 games have seen 3 or more, and 9 of 12 have seen 4 or more. Frankfurt's games average the lowest goals per match, along with Cologne this season, but still, that average is still 2.6, and 11 of their 13 games have seen 2 or more goals. Frankfurt is slumping. They have no wins in 5 across all competitions. They've allowed 2 or more goals in each of those 5. but they've still scored in 13 of 14 in all competitions of late, some way, somehow, whether Frankfurt gets on the board or not, or Bayern scores multiple goals themselves. We should see at least over 1.5 goals. Next up, it's Werder Bremen and Augsburg. Both are 9-4 to over 2.5 totals this season. Augsburg is a perfect 13-0 to over 1.5, while Bremen is 11-2. At 3-2-8, it's not been a good season so far for Werder, but that poor form stretches far, far back into last season, as they have just 4 wins in their past 25 Bundesliga games as well. Now, in those 25 games, there's been 2 or more goals in 22 of them. Just the only problem is most of those goals have all been going against them. But if you look at back to more recent games, they've lost 2-0 and 3-0 and drawn 2-2 and 2-2 in their past 4. So we've seen goals, whether they've been scoring them or just getting scored on. There's still been goals in their games. If you look at their home form this season, they've usually been good for at least getting on the board there, where they've scored in 6 of 8 home games. In fact, prior to the 3-0 shutout versus Leverkusen, they had scored 2, 2, 2, 2, and 4 goals in their previous 5 home games. Augsburg may be 9th, but they're now 6 games undefeated in the league after last week's 2-1 win over Frankfurt. Those scores in those games have been 2-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 3-2, and 5-2. Their games this season have seen both teams score go 11-2. Now, only once in the past 17 meetings between these teams have there been 2 or fewer goals. I think we see a goal from both teams here. We'll go both teams to score, and then we'll round this parlay out in Sunday's action, and it's Stuttgart and Leverkusen. Another exciting looking game here between 2 teams that are performing better than anyone could have expected. Stuttgart are 3rd. They have 30 points. They've scored 33 goals. Leverkusen are even better. They're still 1st in the Bundesliga. They have 35 points, and they've scored 38 goals. This could easily be a both teams to score, or a both teams to score an over 2.5, maybe even an over 3.5. Though Stuttgart is coming off shutting out Bremen, and Bayer Leverkusen have clean sheets in 4 of 6 games. Leverkusen just played Paderborn in the Cup on Wednesday, and it was another win, 3-1. Now that makes them still undefeated across all competitions this season at 19-2-0, and even crazier is they've scored multiple goals in 19 of those 21 games, so they could easily get a couple goals themselves. Stuttgart, they're also off a cup win, 2-0 over Dortmund on Wednesday. They've won 4 straight. Scores have been 2-0, 2-0, 2-1, and 2-1 in all competitions. Stuttgart is 13-0-3, and they've scored multiple goals in 13 of those 16, so they could easily get a couple goals themselves as well. But some way, somehow, I think we see at least 2 goals in this game to round out the parlay. So it's Frankfurt and Bayern over 1.5, Werder and Augsburg, both teams to score, and Stuttgart and Leverkusen over 1.5 at plus 104 odds. Let's move into parlay number 3, and now we're going to head over to Spain, and it's also spread out over Saturday and Sunday here. Atletico Madrid and Almeria will be the first bet. It's 4th place Atletico hosting 20th, last place Almeria. Almeria has yet to win. They're still 0-4-11. They've been outscored 37-16 on the road. Not won either. 0-1-6, outscored 19-6. Atleti are a perfect 7-0-0 at home, scoring 17 and allowing just 7. Now, in any competition, Atleti has been dominant at the Metropolitan Stadium, winning 18 straight and scoring multiple goals in 15 of those 18, while Almeria have allowed multiple goals in 12 of their 14 games this season. If you were betting this on its own, you could probably go Atletico Madrid on the spread to win by 2, maybe 3. You know I do these parlays, though. We're just going to ask for an Atleti win to kick this off. Then let's go to Granada and Athletic Bilbao. Here's another awful team in La Liga, Granada. They're only 1 spot and 3 points better than Almeria right now. Granada are 1-4-10. They've been outscored 35-19. Now that cost head coach Paco Lopez his job and brings them the arrival of Alexander Medina, who gets his first game with the team. Here, the new coach bump? Quite possibly. It often happens. But it's going to be a tough opponent to get that against, as Bilbao are 5th at 8-4-3. They've scored 30 goals in the league in those 50 games. Only Madrid and Girona have more. Bilbao are undefeated in 7 in all competitions of late, going 5-2-0, and they have scored 3, 4, 1, 4, 3, 2, and 2 goals in those games. They might win. Don't want to bet against the new coach bump. Let's just go Bilbao to score here in this parlay. And finally, it's Barcelona and Girona, another exciting game to look forward to. As we mentioned above, Girona is a team that has scored more goals than Bilbao. They have the most in La Liga right now in 17 games in La Liga, Copa del Rey. Girona are 14-2-1. They've only lost to Madrid, and that's also the only game they failed to get a goal in. They just beat lower tier side Orejuela 5-2 on Thursday in the Copa del Rey. So even against the lower team, they conceded goals, which has been The problem with them this season is the defending. Bets on both teams to score in Girona games are 12-5 in all of their games, and they conceded in 6 straight games. Barca, they're right there in the standings. They're third with 34 points behind Girona and Madrid with 38. Across all competitions, they are an impressive 14-4-2. But it's just based off the expectations that Barcelona bring with them every season. They do seem to be leaving much to be desired. Their games are all close. They've conceded and lost to Shakhtar in the Champions League recently, which was a huge shock. And they've not had any multi-goal wins since all the way back in September when they beat lowly Antwerp in the Champions League. Still, they scored in 18 of 20 games, but they've conceded in 11 of those 20 as well. This fixture was low scoring last year. Barca won 1-0 in Girona, and the teams drew 0-0 in Barca. But based how both of these teams are playing this season, I think we see at least a goal from each. So we'll go both teams to score, making it Atletico to win, Bilbao to score, Barca and Girona, both teams to score. That came in at plus money at plus 122. One more parlay to round out this weekend's picks in European soccer, and we're heading back over to England on Sunday with 3 games in the EPL, starting off with Fulham and West Ham. Now West Ham, they started slow on Thursday, but they rebounded to win 2-1 at Spurs. Fulham also got all 3 points, blanking Forest 5-0. Now if we look at totals between these teams, West Ham games average 3.4 goals per match, Fulham's average 3.1. West Ham is 11-4 to over 2.5, while Fulham is just 8-7. But if we look at over 1.5, West Ham is 14-1, Fulham is 11-4. In all competitions, the Hammers have scored in 21 of 22 games now this season, that being in the Premier League, the League Cup, and Europa League. In the EPL alone, for West Ham, they've scored in 14 of 15. Both teams' scores riding a perfect 5-0 run. It's also 13-2 on the season. Fulham's games haven't been quite as wide open all season long, and nor are they scoring at that same level. However, if you look at their recent games, they have a 5-0 win, a 4-3 loss, a 3-2 win, and a 3-1 loss. This game could also be a both teams to score, but both teams to score over 2.5. Certainly, I think at least 2 goals happen here, so we'll go over 1.5. Next, it's Luton and Man City. This should be quick. Let's just take a Man City win. Luton was impressive in midweek, losing 4-3 to Arsenal. They're 2-3-10 on the season. City were massively outplayed versus Aston Villa this week. They only lost 1-0, but it could have been much, much worse. Still, it's Man City here. They're the 4th place team. They are winless, though, in 4 games. They lost back-to-back games in the EPL once this season already, but incredibly, that was the first time they've lost back-to-back games in the EPL since way back on December 22nd and 26th in 2018. This has to be a City rebound against a newly promoted team in Luton. We'll go City to win. And finally, it's Tottenham and Newcastle. Newcastle is right in the thick of the Champions League spots right now, so they can't afford to take this game, not take this game seriously, but they also have a huge Champions League game coming up next week at home to Milan for this year's current Champions League. Now, they can't finish first in Group F, but they can still move from 3rd to 2nd and bump PSG to advance to the next round, so they could be looking ahead to that game. Their opponent, Milan, is in the same boat. They also have 5 points, but they're in 4th, so they're going to be taking this seriously too. It's a huge game next week in the Champions League. Tottenham came out strong on Thursday to West Ham. They took a 1-0 lead, and for much of that early stages of the game, it looked like they might run West Ham right off the pitch, but it was the Hammers who got the next 2 goals and won 2-1. So Spurs are now winless in 5, but if you look at those score lines, it's 2-1, 3-3, 2-1, 2-1, and 4-1. So their games are always entertaining. They're scoring plenty of goals, but they're also letting them in just as easily. But if you look at just the scoring side of things, they've scored in every single game in all competitions this season, that being 16 games. Let's just bet on that streak continuing here. At home, we'll take Spurs to win. So it's Tottenham to score, City to win, Fulham and West Ham over 1.5. Coming in at minus 141 odds to round that up. So there we go. That's 12 games in 3 different leagues, 3 parlays. Let's hope to cash some tickets in soccer this weekend. Now, whether you follow these picks or have other bets that you like of your own, be sure to drop them in the comments. And good luck with all of your picks this weekend. And if you want some MLS Cup final picks, I have a video on that right over here.